y'all, I wanted to stop in for a moment. There's a massage in the other room, so I'm going to have to be kind of quiet. But I'm working on the green buffet that's going to be my May project. And I don't know how much I've showed y'all so far, but it's a buffet. Very plain and simple, good clean lines. And so far, I have cleaned it with Dixie Belle White Lightning. And I put a coat of, I sanded the top because I had to remove the back decorative piece. I sanded the top and I put on a coat of Boss by Dixie Belle in case there was any bleed through or tannins after the sanding. And then I put a base coat over the whole piece of Dixie Belle Evergreen. I have out a whole wad of brushes here because I'm using the other colors that I'm using for blending are Dixie Belle Kudzu, Dixie Belle Farmhouse Green, and Buttercream. And I'm doing a different, and I have out a couple of sponges, and I was going to tear them up a little bit. You can see where some green's on this side. The next portion of the project I'll use this side. But I have all of these colors. I have a separate brush out for each color, and then I have a couple of brushes out that I'm using for dry brushing and the sponge. So we're only going to do this little small drawer piece right now. There's so I'll get the camera good and ready for that. I dropped one of my brushes. And I have my mister bottle and my bucket of water. So all of my brushes have already been pre-dipped in the water because I've already done one drawer on the video for the tutorial for next month. But I just wanted to give y'all a little heads up on this too. I also wanted to show you something else. This is the original hardware. I didn't want to change that a whole lot, but I found this nice one at Hobby Lobby and I thought it was pretty stately, so that's going to be the new one there. I'm going to move some of this out of the way. I have to remember what brush I used for what. This is the Paint Pixie number 12, and I'm putting a coat of the Evergreen all the way around the edges of each area. It doesn't need to go there, but and this has like a decorative ridge on it. Let's see if I can get any closer at all. It has like a decorative ridge on it. And my blending is going to be for the most part inside that ridge. There we go. So I'm putting this Evergreen all the way around the outside of that ridge, over the top of the ridge, and barely slightly inside the ridge. I'm going to mist this. It's pretty dry. Somebody forgot to turn the air on this morning, and it's back through the other room that I can't get to while there's a massaging session. So it doesn't matter which brush. You could be using any brush you want to for this. I just picked them out in order of size and amount of each paint color that I was going to be using. All of the other areas will receive another, another coat of just the Evergreen afterward before I start using the waxes. So I'm not worried at all about going over or not stopping right at the edge of any of those. This is a very, very small area to demo this on, but I did want to make sure and share this with you today. Okay. So we have a good coat of the Evergreen on. This is going to be so hard because it's narrow. Okay, that's the one I'm dry brushing with. Trying to remember what brush I used when. Okay, next I used the, let's compare these two colors. This one's darker. So next I used the Paint Pixie number 8 in the kudzu, which is just a little bit of a more muted, lighter green than the evergreen. We're going to overlap the evergreen just a little. We'll go heavier on these ends. Okay. Then I have a brush for the farmhouse green. Did I get it up there already? What did I do? Okay, here it is. I've got the OS, which is the oval small in Paint Pixie. This is the farmhouse green. And then I used the Paint Pixie French round for the buttercream. Barely any right in the middle. And then here's the part about this brushing. I have a dry brush. Let me wipe it on my rag to make sure there's nothing else on there. And we're going to come in from those edges all the way around. Trying to grab some of that evergreen and some of that kudzu and blend those in together. Should have done a larger piece area when I was going to be showing you, but that's okay. So I'm not adding any paint on right now. This is all taking paint off. Blending the colors together so that it's pretty seamless between the evergreen and the kudzu, between the kudzu and the farmhouse green, and between the farmhouse green and the buttercream. This would almost be a traditional blending effect already, if that was the method we were going for, but it's not. So I'm just barely going over that, brushing over it, almost as if you would a dry brush to try to bring those colors in together. It's starting to pull a little and drag a little, so I know they're starting to blend. I'm going to use this small Paint Pixie Purpose number 6. Go back into the evergreen. And I'm sort of going over the decorative edge and just inside of it. I'm not worrying about which way I'm going with the strokes. Just sort of going with the flow here and getting it on. I know I want it thicker coming out of these corners. here's the fun part. The sponge. I'm going to be sponging from the outside in, trying to make it look splotchy. I'm not worried about when I go over like that because I'll fix that later. This is the part that's sort of ethereal and cloud-like to me. Hey, Mary Catherine, you make me want to come to South Carolina. I have relatives over there. In both Carolinas. You can buy a sea sponge, which would be the smart part, or you can tear up your sponge to make this a little bit easier. This is just a soft one that's real easy on my hands to use, so that's the one I grabbed this morning. I'm trying to keep going from the out in. And there will be more than one coat of this. We're going to do one coat today, and after it dries, another coat. It may just be a touch-up. We may not have to do this entire part again, but I love the look that this gives. I have to be careful as I move on to the, oh, that's awesome. It's a little bit overcast here. It might rain. Bringing the dark in and not having an edge, more or less. So I'm going to stop and go back to one of my dry brushes. Come in. Trying to pull any of that darker green that I can grab up. I'm kind of going almost as if I'm dusting it, you know what I mean? Trying to get a layer of sawdust off of it, kind of a thing. I'm not being rough or firm at all, but I'm not just barely touching it. I'm trying to pull. Trying to get the splotchy blending of the colors. I have to move those comments because I can't see. There we go. Okay, I'm going to come back in again with my evergreen, my darkest green. Get the areas where I pulled some of that light out. Cover it back up. Cover up these ridges and make them dark. And get just a little bit inside there to blend with. That's why I switched to the smaller brush for this. I want a little more in these corners. I love this technique. I love to do the pretty natural ombre and naturally blended effects, but this one is special to me. In just a little. And I'm going to want it to be a little bit darker around where my handles are. So I'm just going to tamp. Can you see that? How it's just tamping on. Back to the sponge. Trying to bring the dark down, light up, and this is by removing paint. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to smush it in so you can't see exactly where I was at, but I'm also trying to bring this darker green toward the center and kind of cloudy it up. Go back to my dry brush for a minute. I really want to, and I think I'm going to see how much farmhouse green is still there. Ooh, a lot. Just move your sponge this way and that way so that you don't get the same repeating pattern over and over. This is one that takes a little bit of effort. That's why it, I think, gives you something more beautiful in the end. Have my dry brush again, and I'm going to go toward the inside, trying to pull whatever's on those edges of that evergreen in. As it does that, it also spreads out a little bit of the farmhouse green and the kudzu and the other colors that are in there. That's it. Let me see if I can back you up a little for coat one. I know that was a quick one, but that's, and I'll try to bring you a little closer, but there's the door I just did on the other video, coat one on that, so you can see the effect that we'll be going for all together. And let me see if I can bring it any closer. Lowering on one side only. Okay, see how It's not the regular blend. It's sort of cloudy and ethereal looking. I really like that. And there's the other one that we're working on. So the details in that will be sticking out even more when we get to the next portion of it. I just wanted to share that with y'all today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.